That's where you can see the video. And I want to hear from you. Rick at thericksmithshow.com. Thanks for being here. See you next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. Iran's supreme leader is saying nuclear negotiations with the U.S. are not intelligent, wise, or honorable. President Trump has made a suggestion there should be talks. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei also suggested there should be no negotiations with such a government, but stopped short of saying directly there will be no talks with the U.S. One of the architects of Project 2025, Russell Vought, has won Senate approval to be President Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer was among the Democrats in the Senate voting no.
If the chaos of the last 2 weeks is any indication of what's to come, Russell Vought will be a massive liability for Donald Trump, for Republicans, and worst of all, for the country.
House Republicans are working overtime to meet the president's demand for a big budget package that includes tax cuts and program cuts. Sources tell the AP the Trump administration's plan for U.S. aid projects around the world would leave fewer than 300 workers out of 8,000 direct hires and contractors. Later today, a judge in Boston will consider the latest attempt to block President Trump's birthright citizenship order. A search is underway in western Alaska.
After a plane carrying a pilot and 9 passengers between the village of Unalakleet and Nome failed to arrive Thursday afternoon. The aircraft was 12 miles offshore, according to the U.S. Coast Guard, when it went missing. The Nome Volunteer Fire Department says it's conducting a ground search from Nome and White Mountain. The Bering Air Cessna Caravan's route goes 150 miles over the Norton Sound. Some volunteers believe the plane went down in the open water in treacherous below freezing conditions. The disappearance is the third major aviation incident in the U.S. in 8 days. I'm Jennifer King.
A small aircraft crashed on an avenue near downtown Sao Paulo, Brazil, hitting vehicles. There is a report 2 people were killed. This is AP News. How do you properly boil an egg?
Meaning the right temperature and the right length of time. Scientists Emilia Di Lorenzo and Ernesto Di Maio in Naples, Italy, say they've figured it out, but that the right temperature of the yolk isn't the right temperature for the egg white.
If the yolk is cooked in an optimal way, the albumin is not cooked in an optimal way. Take the egg, put it in boiling water for 2 minutes. Boiling water is for sure at 100 degrees Celsius. Then after 2 minutes, you take your egg and you put it in water at 30 degrees Celsius, which is almost ambient temperature. And you keep in there for another 2 minutes, and then you repeat the process until cooking is finished.
Di Lorenzo says the yolk should be the consistency of a cream, spreadable with a knife. I'm Donna Warder.
I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high in the low 30s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy and a low near 25. By Saturday, a chance for snow and freezing rain mixing, cloudy high of 33 degrees. Then on Sunday, partial sunshine, we'll see high around 30. Monday, sunny skies, high 34 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 21.
Menards has everything you need for your next big project. Update the lighting in your garage or workspace with our great selection of utility lighting options. The high bay light features a 5,000 Kelvin color temperature, wet rated, and a long life over 100,000 hours, so you'll have light for whenever you need. Get the 11 inches high bay light for $89.99. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals.
Save big money at Menards.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, progressives, and welcome to the February 7, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, Twitter, Stream, and iHeartRadio. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. I've been able to get some of the emails, Henry. Still got a few to go, so got to keep caught up. Catch all of our shows, guys, by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, long version and short version. Of course, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Make sure you are hanging with Patty Vasquez, driving it home, taking you on your way in her hoopty. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and of course, Out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews and programs. The weekend's got lots of cool stuff going on, guys. So don't sleep on that. Make sure you're plugging into what's happening on the weekend. Make sure also to check out our digital signal platform, heartlandsignal.com, because that's where you've got stuff you can share. And most definitely, I can say this to you guys right here and right now. You want to make your way over to Heartland Signal, and I'll start this off today by saying some of the Heartland Signal X clips are phenomenal. They're all phenomenal, but what I mean by that is the things that we've captured there. So the articles in the Post are fantastic, and throughout the week, each day, we have something new that's there that you guys can, as I always say, use to inform yourselves and to be able to pass on to other folks. So make your way over to Heartland Signal X, because we've got some great things there, from the crash and burn video and audio of Representative Nancy Mace referencing members of our society in a extraordinarily negative way based on their sexual orientation. And let me share something about Nancy Mace right out of the gate that you guys should know. She runs around and brags about how she's the first woman to graduate from the Citadel. Great accomplishment. Graduating from school, let's just start with that. You know, graduating from high school, graduating from college, if you go, graduating from trade school, whatever it is that you graduated from, kudos, great accomplishment. But she runs around talking about everybody getting a break and everybody being, woke, and how everybody is so concerned about DEI. And she's got an issue with folks. She's got an issue with, and I can say this word, the male organ. So I'll put it that way rather than saying the other word. And something's going on there. But that being said, she talks about how she did it on her own and she pulled herself up by her, heel straps and all this. Come to find out, and you all can look this up. I'm not being hyperbolic, or I am pointing fingers at her because they need to be pointed at her. How disgusting for her to say what she said in public like that in the venue of our. But that's who the Republican Party is. They all of them. But what I want to say about Nancy Mace is, did you guys know, quiet as it's kept, Henry, the little secret, and by the way, give us a call at 773-763-9278 and text us as well. Nancy Mace's father was a commandant at the Citadel. Maybe that's why she was. See, this is what I had. My wife and I had dinner with our good friend Michelle Peltier the other night. Shout out to Michelle. And Michelle looked at me and she said, "Richard, I can tell sometimes you want to really curse, don't you?" And another good friend of ours and the show, Natalie Ziemba, caught me once a few weeks ago. The same thing. She's like, "Yeah, I can tell, Richard." So both of you are right this morning, Henry. They're both right. Nancy Mace is I'm the wonderful one. I've done everything on my own. I'm great. Nobody. Yeah, your daddy was a commandant at the Citadel. Chop that one up, folks. when you talk about DEI. So that could be a DEI Nepo all rolled into one. But you'll see lots of our great stuff. What my point was, and one of the pieces, one of the Heartland Signal on X is Nancy Mace, and there's many others from both Republicans and Democrats that you want to be able to check out. So make your way over there whenever you can and share the Heartland Signal platform with people, because not everybody's up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 to listen to radio, to talk radio. We know that. But let's hit you guys with a couple of our normals, and it's Friday, so we got a busy day. We have, of course, our great friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast that will be calling in, and we'll be chatting up with her about a little bit of everything. And then we have a chemist that will be with us. I'm keeping his name on the QT for the moment. Colin will be with us. And then, of course, our very own Mayor Brandon Johnson will be with us in the 7:30 hour. So you guys need to tune in and plug in. I'll do my best. I won't be able to ask questions that you send me. I'll be able to maybe talk around them if you send me a text. We'll see if we can squeeze it in. So we'll do our best in that space. But for now, let's hit a couple of Choose Views News, Henry, and then we'll talk about things to do in Chicago. All right, guys. Federal workers have more time to decide on whether to accept the deferred resignation offers. A federal judge extended the deadline to Monday at the earliest, when a follow-up hearing is scheduled for more than 2 million federal workers who received the buyout offer, and about 40,000 had accepted as of Wednesday. Despite uncertainty about whether the terms will be honored, that's the most important part of this. Will the terms be honored? Federal unions have urged members to reject the deal, which they're suing to block. Right on to these unions. Look, y'all, Donald has backed out before, and so don't accept the deal. Stay there. Fight. We will fight with you. All right, Amazon is coming for Walmart. We saw this coming, guys. Walmart's reign as a top revenue generator in the S&P has been long and stable, clocking in at 12 consecutive years. But this era is likely coming to an end, as CNBC reports. Amazon is projected to wrestle the number one spot from the retailer after both companies reported quarterly earnings this month. Amazon's expected ascendancy is largely driven by the runaway success of its cloud business and the rise in online shopping following the pandemic. Yeah, that's... I will say that Walmart may have not missed that opportunity, but during the pandemic, because they've got big box stores, people that couldn't make it in, they should have been able to pivot at that point. They had the resources, and I'm not shaming them because they're Walmart. I don't know why the hell am I going. They got all the money in the world too. That would have been an opportunity for them to pivot and say what's coming, and they had the resources, they had the infrastructure, blah blah blah. So we'll see what happens. All right, Shine and Temu hit with a 30% levy. Items on Shine and Temu may not remain quite as cheap. Why? Because logistics agents that import goods into the U.S. have begun adding a 30% levy to products shipping from China to Hong Kong, according to Bloomberg. The charges come after the U.S. imposed 10% tariffs on all Chinese merchandise and revoked a rule that lets packages worth $800 or less enter untaxed. The latter change will likely hurt Shine and more than Temu, according to Reuters, because Temu has been building up its stateside inventory, anticipating what? These doggone tariffs. All right, Honeywell is pursuing a spin-off strategy. Why is that important? One of the country's leading industrial giants is breaking up. Honeywell, a $150 billion conglomerate that was already planning to spin off its advanced materials division, said yesterday that it also is separating its aerospace branch from its automation arm. Why is that important, guys? Because it has to do with distribution of materials that are used to build airplanes. The decision follows a year-long review of the potential split, spurred by pressure from activists. Elliott Investment Management, they cited the example of General Electric, which split into 3 independent businesses. The company's combined value is nearly 4 times what GE's was in 2022. That's important because of the distribution channels that are needed for aerospace, which are our planes, and we want that to be safely managed. Okay. The U.S. House introduces the Deep Seek bill. Lawmakers from both parties introduced a bill Thursday that would bar Chinese artificial intelligence company DeepSeek's chatbot from government devices due to national security concerns. Just kick Elon out. That's our biggest national concern. We can do all these other things, Dems and Republicans. Kick his behind to the curb. DeepSeek jolted the industry last month when it released a powerful AI model that has become popular with American consumers, despite the risk it is sending user data to China. It's not that I could care less about that. I want our leaders to get these dudes out of our bank account and out of our social systems. What's going to China? We have ways of dealing with that, but let's focus on what's right in front of us. All right, guys, there you go. A little bit of Choose Views news this morning, and of course some commentary from me. I never do that, Henry. I made my man laugh right out of the gate. All right, so before we hit this break, let me tell you what to do here in Chicago this weekend if you're going to be around. Theater Week started yesterday and is running through the 16th. Chicago is a place for incredible theater and experience everything Chicago theater has to offer. There are shows where tickets are as low as $15 and $30. So make your way, check it out, get out and see some theater if that's your thing. If you got visitors in town, that's always a good thing to do. And some places you can get tickets at the last minute. So there you go. Restaurant Week. Yes, we talked about that last week. We're still in Restaurant Week. The 18th annual, where over 470 of the city's top restaurants offer prefix menus, brunch, lunch, and dinner. Brunch, dinner, and dunch. Look at that. That one just rolled off smoothly. That's going to be happening citywide. So make your way to your favorite restaurant or something new and check out their prefix menus. The Argyle Lunar New Year celebration up in Uptown, a part of the city of Chicago, Argyle area, Argyle and Broadway, if you know your way around the city. 1100 West Argyle. This is the Argyle Lunar New Year Parade. Check that out this weekend. Something to do. Chinatown also is this Lunar New Year Parade down in Chinatown, 2200 South Wentworth, another place to go. And this is one of our staples, one of the biggest in the world since 1901. The Chicago Auto Show kicks off this weekend and runs through next Monday at McCormick Place, 2301 South Martin Luther King Drive. Always a good event to go to. Get out, see some new people, roam around, see some vehicles. And one of the good things about going to the auto show is it tests three things. 1, your patience. 2, your ability to walk and stamina. And 3, your agility to move out of the way of the kid that ran away from mommy and daddy. And here they come at you. You got to weave and bob. So get out and enjoy the auto show, guys. It's the one that I've always enjoyed. So make your way over to McCormick Place. Family Day, Comfy Day. Enjoy the warm, soft, lovely things that can be heartfelt throughout different retailers in the country, throughout the city, I should say. But the key area to go for this event is at the Museum of Contemporary Art, 220 East Chicago Avenue. Always a fun place to go and enjoy the exhibits that are there. And then the Cider Summit, Henry, tickets are now on sale for the city, Chicago's Cider Summit. At 840 East Grand. That's a great place to go and hang out. And if you're looking for some basketball, the Bulls are playing the Golden State Warriors. So there you go. Things to do in Chicago this weekend. Get out and enjoy yourselves. We're going to take a quick break, guys, because we're moving fast this morning. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
Hey, looking for a winning team on a winning station? You found it right here on WCPT 820 AM. Join the marvelous one, Dan Marver, the fallacious one, Paul Shivari, Sports on the Couches, Mike Mercado, and yours truly, Devin Tingle, every Sunday at 9 p.m. for the Sports Cubicle, where the inmates run the asylum, and the boss, well, they yell at us on Monday morning because we're working overtime. Looking for your late night dose of sports talk radio? We're here. Join us on the Sports Cubicle, Sunday nights at 9 p.m.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. I got a text to me that someone said, I really don't believe 40,000 people signed up for the early retirement with this lying White House. Need more facts. I don't disagree with you either. I don't disagree with your disbelief. I mean, maybe you got to keep in mind, folks, there's a lot of people who may have been approaching retirement in that number. So let's just kind of break it down real quickly. There could be, and I'm most certain there are, a lot of people that were in that window. They're like, I'm 60 years old. I've been doing this for a minute. I can go do something else. Let me take this package and get the hell out of here. I can see that being a part of it, in all honesty. And I say that only from a little bit from common sense, but also from professional experience. So that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I think about it in terms of people who've been in law enforcement. They signed on, became a police officer at age 25 or 30, and they did 25 years, they're mid-50s. They're like, you know what? I served. I'm going to walk and get whatever the level of pension I'm qualified for, and then go do something else. Take a break for a few years. Whatever feelings we have about folks who are in public service work, whether it be law enforcement, firefighters, people that work in a government role, it can be a pain in the behind dealing with us sometimes. I mean, let's just be honest, Henry. Oh, yeah. We aren't always on our mark. They have to deal with us. They have to deal with the public and people that, if you work in a situation when you walk into, think about this, DMV, we go in because we are in need of something. And we are PO'd if they get upset with us because we don't have some of our documentation right. Is that the truth? We're the customer, but we're not right in that moment. Mm-hmm. So I can understand that there's a percentage of people that are like, I'm done dealing with this. I'm going to walk. I'm going to take whatever they're going to give me, which will be hopefully pretty substantial, and go do something else where I don't have to deal with these fools. So those people who decide to do that, what's the word? Don't talk trash about them. I'm not saying anybody is, but give them their flowers for their service. If they decide to take the buyout or whatever, maybe it's not the best thing for us as a person observing it. But don't judge them for that. Give them their praise if they've been working in a capacity of service, and let them be able to walk away with the dignity that they deserve, no matter what the payout is. If that's their decision, then let's support them in their decision, because we don't know what's going on in their particular lives that might say, I don't want to deal with the other side of what could happen. I'm just trying to be open and realistic about how we all make decisions, because we don't know what's going on with somebody behind the curtain. My mother and father both used to say, you never know what the pillow talk is. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of how I assess that. So anyhow, that's how I land on that. Henry, let's see if we can squeeze in this one clip. We got Karen coming on at 6:30, but I want you all to hear this clip. It made me laugh, but it's spot on. It's one of our sisters from Scotland telling folks what she thinks and what she feels. Uh-oh. Henry's got to get that one queued up, guys. He's almost there. He's got it. He's got like 4 hands. He's very quiet about it, but he has a... We good? Yeah. All right, go ahead.
I've never done this before, spoken directly to the camera before, but I just wanted to come on here because I just wanted to say that I am a very lucky Irish woman. I'm an Irish woman that lives in the northeast of Scotland, and it's such a beautiful part of the world, and everybody should really come here and visit at least once in their lives. It's stunning here. It's so wild, so natural, and has great whiskey, great rugby, great history. Do you know who is not welcome to visit here? Do you know whose tourist dollars we don't want? If you're a MAGA voter, if you voted Trump, if you wear that red hat, symbol of hate, you're not welcome here. Do you know who are welcome here? Canadians, Mexicans, Colombians, Aussies, Kiwis, Americans who didn't vote for Trump, you are welcome. Come on over, let's get the party started. But otherwise, and this goes double for MAGAs who have Scottish heritage or Irish heritage. If you voted for that man, shame on you. Really, you should have known better, and you're not welcome either. So where else are MAGAs not welcome this summer or any summer? We don't want your tourist dollars. Where else? Who wants you? We don't want you. If your country is so beautiful, if your country is so great, then stay there. Please do us all a favour. We don't want you.
So there you go. There's a lot in there. And when I look at the video and watch that, I thought about it in terms of, she said this with a big smile on her face. If you want me to send it to you, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. That there's a lot in there. And I just thought it would be a good thing to play this Friday morning because, unfortunately, there are lots of folks in the world who've been our allies, our partners, and frankly are part of different folks' ancestry that have the same thoughts and feelings right now. And we know that they're out there. Kudos to this woman for posting this. The interesting thing about it, she's in Scotland and is of Irish heritage. And I laugh about it because I think, this is one of those global moments. We all got a little bit of something in us. We got a little bit of Irish, a little bit of Scottish, a little bit of German, a little bit of different countries in the continent of on the continent of Africa. I always have to be careful. A little bit of African in us. We have a little bit of Ethiopian, Egyptian, Senegalese, and the rest, and the Asian country. We have a little bit of all of us, all of these parts of the world in all of us. And part of the problem, and the reason that I wanted to take this sort of position or make these dotted lines on this is that we have our biases in the world. None of us are immune to the biases. We just do. But we also have our connective tissue. And I'm not trying to be rah-rah about this, but we have our connective tissues. And the thing that this week has really been, has really taught me this week, or reminded me, maybe is a better word, is the connective power of community. Yesterday, Jamal Cole talked about that. Throughout the course of the week, other folks that have been guests on the show have talked about that. Mayor Johnson talked about that Monday at the WTTW event. He'll talk about it probably a little bit today. But ultimately, the reason that I keep coming back to community is because that we have to remember we're a global community. And one of the things that is, one of the things that's happening, and one thing that I want to really try to be a leader in not allowing to happen, or at least not on my little bit of a watch, is that our communities get pulled apart. And the lady, our Scottish Irish friend doesn't want certain people to come to Scotland. I get the reason why. But at the end of the day, when I saw that clip and I looked through it and I watched it a couple of times, I thought, it really is about welcoming people, and it's about someone reaching out and saying, you all are welcome because we want you to be here. We want you to be part of who we are. And unfortunately, some people aren't. And so I think that that's part of what we have to remember to do. They're trying to take our stuff, and at the top of the list of the stuff that they're trying to take is our ability to be connected to one another. So that we cannot allow them to do. Iron fist fortitude. We cannot allow them to do that. I don't want to be the dude walking down the street angry at somebody that I don't know, Henry. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy walking down the street. I mean, that's just not who I am at my core. So I want you guys to be that way either. Don't get me wrong. You know who I am. That doesn't mean I'm not going to be ready. And I don't want you guys to be ready. I want all of us to be ready. But I don't want us to be walking down the street, with that negative mindset. I want us to, and that comes from being isolated. That comes from not having a knowing that we have community. But that comes from the reality of recognizing and acknowledging and not walking around with our heads in the sand about what it is going on with our federal government and what they're trying to do to us on a local level. So please don't get that wrong. Make sure that you're understanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying, again, I'm not trying to be a cheerleader in this space. I'm just trying to make sure everybody is aware. We got some stuff to fight back on, and we have to be prepared to do that. But just know that our strength really does lie in our ability to recognize that we are a community, and we cannot let them take that part away. That is the part of the message that I've had for a few weeks now, which is that how do I want to put this? The ton of dominoes, this flood the zone tactic is designed to try to wear us down. And the distractions from what really matters is done to have us get upset about the wrong things. And that all things are important, but the things that have to be at the top of the heap. So just hear that message. And when I saw this clip, I thought about it and I said, okay, I want to tie this together, guys. We have to make sure that we are connected. And I love what she said about all y'all can come. That's not how she said it. She said it with her wonderful brogue. All y'all can come except y'all. And so take a little bit of lesson from her. Everybody's welcome to the party except those folks over there that are trying to cause us harm. And we have to put the spotlight on them and let them know they are not welcome until they do what Rich and Courtney yesterday from Leaving MAGA decide to do. That's the litmus test. You guys hear me? Everybody's welcome except those folks over here, and that until they decide to do what Rich and Courtney decided to do, then you're not invited. Make sense? Not too hard. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
For people saying Trump's some sort of peacenik.
Oh, yeah. You love that?
Yes, thank you for this tweet. You said Trump bombed Syria, Trump bombed Yemen, bombed Somalia. He assassinated a foreign military leader. In Iraq and Syria alone, Trump drone strikes killed an estimated 13,400 civilians. Trump increased troop levels in Afghanistan by 25%. Trump bragged about relaxing rules of engagement in Afghanistan, which nearly doubled civilian casualties. Trump pulled out of the INF, out of the Open Skies Treaty. Trump loves Putin's slaughter of Ukrainian civilians, calling it genius and savvy. Trump pulled out of the Iran nuke treaty, even though our military insisted Iran was complying, so any future Iranian nukes will be 100% thanks to Trump. Thank you, John Fugel, saying...
Here to help.
Here to help. Here at the Stephanie Miller Show. Thank you.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high in the low 30s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy and a low near 25. By Saturday, a chance for snow and freezing rain mixing, cloudy high of 33 degrees. Then on Sunday, partial sunshine, we'll see high around 30. Monday, sunny skies, high 34 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 21.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Some of the comments that I'm getting about our new Scottish friend and her video, her clip are pretty cool. And I'm also getting some interesting ones regarding Nancy Mace. Oh my goodness, y'all are some bad folks. But, hey, Nepo privilege DEI, Nancy Mace, she's the one that's out there, showing her behind, as we would say. In any event, let's go to our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. I know you got some stuff to say this morning.
Well, your last clip, she's speaking my language now.
Oh, my God.
So, there's a saying when we bring out our Irish, and it's similar to F off. Okay?
Have you ever seen the Robin Williams skit that he does in full Scottish brogue about about golf?
Yes.
And he talks about we can't play it on the air because it would be Bleep City. But
with the wee little stick.
It is so hilarious, y'all. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, listen, if you need a laugh this weekend, in terms of something to do this weekend, Google Robin Williams golf. I think that's probably what you can Google, and just watch it, and don't be drinking anything when you're watching it, because you will spit it up. You don't have to know a damn thing about golf. It's just hilarious. It's Robin Williams at his best. But how you doing? How you doing? Did you like that clip? I kind of knew. I did. I fed into it intentionally, knowing that it would be a good lead into you, given your heritage, part of your heritage.
Yes, well, my heritage, and I've got and it's Scottish, because I am Scottish and I'm also Irish. Yep. So I think my people were probably driven out of Scotland. We were probably doing something like sheep stealing or something, some kind of bad behavior. So we were sent out, and so actually, I can trace my line to Northern Ireland, but definitely Scottish. Bell, my maiden name is definitely Scottish. But yeah, so I've been to both places, and I appreciate very much. Even the first occupation by him, the spirit of the Scots. To come and tell him exactly what they felt of him in the most colorful language. It's some of the best. If you don't know any Scottish slang, go in some of the things that they were calling the wanker in chief. Go check it out, we it'll actually it's a little bit of therapy for me. But yeah, and then in Ireland too, I had we scattered our mom's ashes in Ireland about 3 years ago now, and I have to say that they don't appreciate Donald Trump over in Ireland at all. There was a street performer, and he had a whole bunch of songs, and I actually bought a cassette of his, or I guess it was a CD. But yeah, just very anti-Trump, and there was these American golfers that were standing there. You could just spot them, Yep. The type, it's just the ugly Americans that come over, and they're they're in their golf gear, and they're listening to his songs, and they're just sitting there with their arms folded, just scowling and shaking their heads, and then they walk off, and we're clapping. Everybody starts clapping as they're walking away. It was unbelievably lovely to see that. Yeah, no, they do not appreciate Trump over there. Nobody does. Nobody appreciates Trump except for MAGA.
Check this out. So I received this a text from our good friend Bob. I want to read this on the air because it does speak loudly to what you just said. Here's what the email said, or the text says. Richard, that clip of the Scottish Irish woman is both amazing and depressing. I appreciate her honesty. I am absolutely not a MAGA, but look at how much the Red Hats have become unwelcome thousands of miles away. How many other people around the world are thinking the same thing, but not necessarily saying anything about it. Thanks, Bob, for that text. And that's true. It goes back to what you just said. And unfortunately, I don't know, maybe unfortunately is not the right word. Maybe ironic is the word, but whatever the right word is, his last two sentences, or last part of that, unfortunately, many people around the world are saying the same thing and feel the same way. That's the part that makes my statement earlier about community being kept together and staying together is important. And when I was thinking about you being on our segment this morning, that's why I thought, well, that's a little bit of serendipity that I would have a Scottish Irish woman speak to this, but more really about what our global impact is. We've been the global leader in so many ways, but we've been imperfect as the day is long. We've been messed up, and we've messed up a bunch of stuff. So I don't want anybody to listen to this and think, oh, Richard's just glorifying America. Hell no, I'm not. No. We've messed up a part. Let's just talk about immigration for a second, and the immigration from our southern border. We got a hand in that problem. And one of the things that Vice President Harris was trying to do is find out how we could fix the problem at its core, which was kind of putting the light on us. And I think it's in an odd, weird, ironic way, her turning the spotlight on what the U.S. has done to cause some of the immigration issues got a lot of people to dislike what she was doing in that space, because she was telling the truth about what the American foreign policy had caused, not just in the southern countries migrating to the U.S., but across the globe.
Well, and it ties so much into the original sin, the American, where we were built on genocide and the backs of slaves, and not in a place where, all men are created equal, and, with the same inalienable rights. So, you look at it, and we have not yet come to terms with that. We have not yet acknowledged that. And particularly now on our side of the aisle, we all can look at this objectively. We can all say, yes, that all happened. And we have an opportunity to do something and build something great here, right? And that is the difference between us and them. They run around waving the flag and calling themselves patriot, and any open, free speech conversation that would be critical of the United States automatically gets you the label of unpatriotic and anti-American. No, it is acknowledging, it is looking at and seeing our actions and having an honest reckoning with them, so that we can then improve and become what we truly want to be, aspire to be. Okay, we are, whether MAGA likes it or not, we are a multicultural, multiracial, supposed to be a democracy if their party would let us. Okay, so
that's so well put about the introspection, and one of the things that popped in my mind when you said that. So let's just try this on for a second. We have this belief by so many people, many of those who are in the MAGA crowd, the uber MAGA crowd. And yes, we had the great two folks on yesterday, Rich and Courtney from Leaving MAGA, and really mentioned some things that I thought were important. But the thing that the Christian nationalist mindset has done is it's allowed people to skip over something that is supposed to be a tenet of that faith, of the faith, which is a certain level of introspection and humbleness, and being able to look at oneself and ask, if you're one of that faith, ask the Lord, ask Jesus, ask the Spirit to help you become a better person. All right. I mean, I'm not trying to quote scripture here, y'all. I'm just trying to say the learning mindset around Christianity and other faith is saying, I'm imperfect. What can I do to become better? One of the worst things to do is to carry the arrogance of denial that I've done. And it gets into the whole thing around forgiveness, right? I mean, forgiveness is based in, I'm not perfect. I need help. Y'all help me out here. I'm about to mess up. Or I messed up. Somebody come help me. I mean, that's just, if we want to break it down to everyday folks, that's really what the spiritual piece is about, should be about.
It's walking humbly.
But our country is a stark contradiction of that. By this, we're great, we're perfect, we don't have to apologize, we didn't do anything wrong. I could care less about that woman in Scotland and Ireland with Irish heritage. I could care less about the folks coming across the southern border, because we're perfect. We don't do anything wrong. And to not be welcoming as a country is absolutely the most ironic contradiction for a country that wants to say that it's a Christian country.
That's right. Well, and if you recall, when President Obama came into the White House, and he went on his first international junket, and they called that the apology tour.
Yeah,
remember that.
Yeah,
and so, and yeah, no, what it is it was us saying, because you can't sit there and you can't tout yourself as the greatest, as you said, and completely ignore the fact that you've done some really not so great things. So and it's just, it just is shows the hypocrisy. And I mean, hypocrisy almost doesn't seem to be, a strong enough word, because it doesn't seem to have the impact. It certainly doesn't seem to faze them at all and I've said this before, when you're sitting down to the table with family and friends who are, to celebrate the birth of a brown baby, but you wouldn't let their family in. You would not provide shelter. You would not provide food. You would vilify them, and you would call them illegal. When to be undocumented is a civil infraction. It is nothing more. It's like you could, a parking ticket, a speeding ticket, it's that level. So, yet these people walk around and it's offensive. And I'm not a big Bible thumper, I believe I love Jesus. The fan club really kind of creeps me out, certain factions of it. As John Fugelsang says, I won't take credit for that. But, but the point being, it's like, it's just, where is their self-awareness? Where is their self-reflection? Do they ever stop running their stupid, obnoxious mouths to just sit with, how do what they're saying and what they're doing, align? It's just like they never take one single moment, and the way they, do it is by, they treat us by intimidating us and, just being the loudest voice in the room, to shut down, what we're telling them that they need to hear, that they should welcome hearing, but it's like they have this block, and I just think that is just how strong and deeply embedded the misogyny, the racism, the xenophobia is, the hate is.
What do you think about? So yesterday, I don't know to what extent you heard the segment where I had Rich on and Courtney on from Leaving MAGA, where two things that stood out to me. One was try not to refer to folks as being in a cult. One, and two, the comment that was made about people hearing not wanting to hear the F around and find out. Commentary. I just want to get a quick snip from you on your thoughts about that part of what they said.
Quick? You want me to be quick? Okay. Well,
I know you have a quick answer to it or a response to it.
If it walks like a cult and it talks like a cult, it's a cult. This is the thing. Good for them. I'm glad that they were able, if they were a part of the cult and they were able to get out, that's great. And welcome very much. But that doesn't mean that you got to take away, our perceptions and what we have been seeing. And if you look at the definition of a cult, for the people that are in the cult, what we are seeing with MAGA looks a hell of a lot like a cult. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that they're out. And as far as the FAFO, look, this is the thing. We will give grace all day long to people that finally come. Pam Hempel, she did not take a pardon. She was one of the people that were with, January 6th insurrectionists, and she did her time, and she will not take a pardon. Now, I have a lot of respect for that, and I will give a lot of grace to people that finally have woken up. And again, welcome. But guess what? You don't get to tell us how we need to react. to all of this. And I am not. Look, there was a clip Tabitha Speaks put out, and it was a woman, a young mom who was losing, had her Snap account shut down, and she has children to feed. It's heartbreaking to me. And her poor children are going to be suffering because of the decisions, partly because of the decisions that she's made. But at what point do you start taking accountability and onus of that, and then allowing the people who, now this is not the first Trump go around for us. And so for your guests from yesterday, understand this. This is not our first go around, okay? We lost loved ones to COVID. We, suffered through a shutdown. We had economic hardships because he tanked President Obama's economy while you all ran around and tore down mask displays and harassed school board members, et cetera, et cetera. We did everything that we could to stop that from happening. Mitch McConnell decided that he wasn't going to convict Donald Trump for his actions on January 6th.
Yeah.
And then all of you guys got behind him again and followed him around for 4 years and tore down Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and said all kinds of nasty things about all of us. And now you want to tell us that we can't take at least a little bit of celebration and pleasure in the FAFO. And by the way, part of the FAFO, we all saw this coming, okay? And guess what? Y'all aren't the only people that are going to be hurt. We're being hurt, too. Our loved ones are being hurt. My child has student loan debts, to pay off or whatever. They already were having a hard time coming up with a down payment to buy their first property, so I'm sorry, but it's just like we get much grace and appreciation, but seriously, come on now.
Yeah,
check yourself. Sorry.
No, and that's why I said to both of them. I said, "Well, you guys you've done something with that experience, which is to create a bridge for others who can't find their way out, because that's ultimately what the work is that they're doing, which is good." But I wanted to tie that to what you said, about people running around and crying because America. Or President Obama went on what was, by all measure, a way of saying, listen, we want to do better. It wasn't necessarily an apology tour. It was, let's find a way to do better. I want to pivot to something real quickly, to a word that you used earlier that ties into a couple of things that I've got on my desk this morning. And it's about hypocrisy and sort of the it's good for, if it could be good for somebody but not good for others. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about 3 women in the GOP that have said, no, you all can't have this access. You all can't do this thing. But wait a minute, we can. The 3 women I'm talking about are Marjorie Greene and her daddy's, her family's money that allowed her to be the B word that she is. Nancy Mace and her father being the commandant at the Citadel. And then the third one, which a lot of people aren't talking about, but it needs to be talked about, is that Ivanka Trump has basically been outed for using USAID money for a White House event in 2019.
God help us. God help us. Yeah.
But y'all can't have any.
Yeah. What is it? There's no bread, let him eat cake. Came after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. You see where I'm going with this? This is the thing, and we talk about the MAGA. The MAGAs that are leaving MAGA. Okay. We see that a lot of the MAGA cult members, and I'm going to say, y'all are a cult. I'm sorry, you're not going to take that away from me. The fact of the matter is, these people are prone to violence. And if you look at the violence that has been done, and I think you and I have talked about this, the CEO in New York, the insurrection, the attack on our Capitol, we know these people are prone to violence. And guess what? Just like that young woman that was on the Tabitha Speaks video, losing her SNAP assistance and not knowing how she's going to feed her children. And there are a number of those similar videos. You are going to, when you push people into desperate situations and they are also prone to violence, I mean, I don't know what to tell these people.
Yeah.
At some point, people are going to snap. And I am not promoting that, and I am not hoping for that. But, that is, if history is to be believed, is it prologue? That's what happens. That is what happens.
This is the FAFO moment because, I appreciate where people are in terms of leaving any of this craziness. And we said, y'all need to be prepared. Don't go down this path. It's sort of like, Karen, it's sort of like this. How many times have any of us, Henry, watched a movie, watched the show, and it could be a police officer, it could be a regular citizen, it could be anybody. And there's a noise in the basement, right, Henry? There's that noise in the basement. And and somebody gets up in the middle of the night, doesn't turn the lights on, every light on in the house, but they grab a flashlight, Karen. Right?
Okay.
In the middle of the night, they grab a little baby flashlight. Or better yet, hold on. They get their cell phone and they turn the flashlight on their cell phone because they heard a noise in the basement or in the backyard. And then they go down there or out there and they get snatched. Okay? And in the movie, while we're watching the TV show or the movie, all of us are saying, don't go down there. Don't go down there. Don't go down. Don't go out there. Don't go out there.
Right.
But oh no. They got that flashlight lit up on their cell phone, and they're going to go down in that basement or out in the backyard to find out what that noise is, or down that dark alley, or in that building, that old deserted building, because they heard a noise. And we tried to tell them, look, don't go in there. Don't hide behind the chainsaws. Right. We've tried to tell y'all. And so now here we are. Folks are turning up missing. And I'm not putting any disrespect on that in the reality of the world of folks turning up missing. Please, y'all, don't get upset about that. I'm making a point about, we have tried to tell you, and as much as I've, Karen and I have had some fun in talking about the craziness of folks that won't listen. At the end of the day, we still have the responsibility, I believe, certainly the opportunity to make sure our communities are kept together and make sure that they don't divide us and that they don't succeed even in the executive orders and all this garbage, which I'm going to talk to Mayor Johnson about. That we do not allow them to take away from our connectedness. That cannot happen.
Right. And let me just, in parting, because I know we're coming up to the top of the hour here, but in parting, I just want to say this. To all of the MAGAs that are seeing the light, to all of the people that are seeing the light, welcome. We embrace you. Welcome into the club. But guess what? Y'all are on double, triple probation.
You got to sit in the back of the room, be quiet.
Right. No, exactly. And I mean, I appreciate the perspective. I want to hear what it was that made them tick and made them believe this stuff, because we do have to kind of figure that piece out. But at the same time, you guys, welcome to the club, but you're the newbies. Okay. You guys are the rookies now. And so you guys have to kind of allow space for us to feel what we're feeling and say what we need to say, in this space, because we're in a deep pile of doo-doo right now partly because of y'all, and guess what? We need to be able to say and feel what we need to feel.
Yeah, as the great Eric Grant would say, y'all ain't running nothing just because you came to the party.
There you go.
All right, Karen.
All right.
Good to hear your voice this morning. Thanks for your perspective. And I was so glad that I was able to put this together to have our Scottish-Irish friend leave us with a clip. And you were able to join right in and take the baton and run with it. So.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me again, Richard. I love you guys.
Karen Byrne, TruBlu Politics, y'all. Check out the podcast. Thanks for being with us, Karen.
Thanks, sweetie.
Bye-bye. Right, bye now. How about that, Henry? Oh man. That clip just has so much in it, and it really just does. So I hope you guys can appreciate the little bit of goofiness that I try to throw at you this Friday, and put a little bit of smile on your face this morning. So we're going to take a quick break. We've got the top of the hour, and when we come back, we'll have our secret agent sort of chemist chatting with us this morning about some EPA items. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Call us to get your Care Watch right now.
800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. 800-741-5819. That's 800-741-5819.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, says U.S. talks are not intelligent, wise, or honorable, upending a push to negotiate a nuclear deal with President Trump. The AP's John Gambrell is in Dubai.
Khamenei made these remarks in front of military officers and really kind of slammed the door shut, apparently, on possible negotiations. This flies in the face of what Iranian officials have been saying for months, and those officials include Khamenei himself, that Iran wanted to have negotiations because they wanted to see these sanctions lifted that have blocked billions of dollars from entering Iran's anemic economy.
What happens next between the U.S. and Iran remains unclear. President Trump withdrew a nuclear deal with Iran during his first term. The International Criminal Court is calling on member states to stand up against sanctions by President Trump,
saying the move was an attempt to harm its independent and impartial judicial work. Trump signed an executive order against the ICC Thursday for its investigations of Israel. The sanctions include stopping ICC officials from entering the U.S. The International Court issued an arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over his actions towards Palestinians in Gaza following the October 2023 Hamas attack. Trump says the ICC's actions set a dangerous precedent, while Liz Evanson with Human Rights Watch says U.S. sanctions against ICC officials would be a gift to those around the globe responsible for mass atrocities. Neither the United States nor Israel are members of the ICC or recognize it. I'm Jennifer King.
Rescuers are searching for any signs of a plane that went missing while carrying 10 people across Alaska's Norton Sound, south of the Arctic Circle. Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen edged out two-time winner Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson for the AP NFL Most Valuable Player Award. The announcement was made in New Orleans, site of Sunday's Super Bowl 59 between the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles. This is AP News. American importers have been stockpiling the Italian bubbly Prosecco as a hedge against the possible impact of tariffs threatened by President Trump. Imports of Italian sparkling wines have been outpacing the demand.
The technical terms of what happened is front-loading.
Lucio Miranda with Exports USA says it's to bypass any possible tariffs. Italian wines were not hit by tariffs during the first Trump presidency. Miranda doesn't see possible tariffs as a rebalancing of trade,
but rather as a negotiating tool to extract concessions from each individual country in the European Union.
Lamberto Frescobaldi with the Union of Italian Wines is worried tariffs could scare away customers.
Do we survive without a glass of wine? Yes, we may survive. So wine is a pleasure, but everything has a price.
Italy exports nearly 1/4 of its wine to the U.S. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high in the low 30s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy and a low near 25. By Saturday, a chance for snow and freezing rain mixing, cloudy high 33 degrees. Then on Sunday, partial sunshine, we'll see high around 30. Monday, sunny skies, high 34 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 21. Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views. Thanks for being with us. 773-763-9278. You know, you guys can catch my Substack. It's Choose Views, and it's really easy to find. We were just getting that up and going, and we'll have different articles posted in the weeks to come. So we've got our first one this week. Looking forward to bringing you more. And speaking of bringing you more, today, 2 to 5, Joan Esposito will be taking your calls for the first half of the show, talking to Rebecca Little and Colin Long, authors of I'm Sorry for My Loss, an urgent examination of reproductive care in America, and Sean Kitchen, political correspondent at the Pennsylvania-based Keystone Courier, that's better to say. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays, 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT, Heartland Signal, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Joan Esposito. Tonight, 5 to 7, Patty Vasquez will be joined by Jen Glass, co-artistic director of the Gift Theater, and Rebecca Williams, statewide organizer for Fair Vote Illinois, and James Johnson, Skokie trustee, organizer for Fair Vote Illinois, and candidate for Skokie clerk. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, 5 to 7 p.m. Central, WCPT, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook as well. Stay tuned, guys, at 7:30. Mayor Johnson will be with us, and hopefully we'll have a nice, good, clean feed, and we can chat with our mayor. And, of course, Wednesday we celebrated, meaning Choose Views, 1 year. So send in your questions. We will put that together in a little segment for you as we get through the month. So you can send in your questions by texting me at texting us at 773-763-9278. Or you can email me, which might be actually a little bit easier, at richard@WCPT820.com. And as always, check out our podcast that we have, our recent conversations with Rich Logis and Courtney Ray yesterday from Leaving MAGA. Jamal Cole, Ms. Tony Preckwinkle, State Rep Norma Hernandez, investigative journalist Greg Pallas, Ben Jealous, Dana Goldberg. Short version, long versions, guys. Full episodes, all available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, iHeart, YouTube, and Amazon by searching Choose Views. Or you can go to the show page, visiting heartlandsignal.com, and click on my picture. Yeah, that's what you do. If you're listening live, weekdays, you can tell Alexa to play WCPT on TuneIn. That's all you got to do. So check us out where we are. We're in a lot of places, and we want to make it available to you to share with the folks that you know and love. We do our best to bring you guys a varied bit of information. It all, in my mind, circles back to one thing, and that's improving the world in which we live. And oftentimes we've got to, for lack of better words, lean into some of the difficult things. But today we have a gentleman with us that's going to talk about some important issues as it relates to EPA. And that's a big one for me in terms of our environment. It's the only one we got. It's the only planet we have. And we can't let that slip away from us. And pulling out of the Paris Agreement by Trump was an absolutely dumb move. But we have with us this morning one of our chemist friends, Colin, who will be joining us. Is he on? We got him online? Okay, cool. Good morning, Colin. Welcome to Choose Views here on WCPT. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Richard. Doing well. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here. And, ready to talk about the the state of the environment and the state of EPA over the last 3 weeks.
Now, you're here in Chicagoland area, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So let me ask you this question.
We cover the entire Great Lakes region.
Got it. So let me tell us a little bit about you, the organization, because I have a question I want to ask you about something that's a local question that's part of a national conversation. But just take a moment and kind of introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah. So I work as a chemist for the region, and a lot of people might not know this, but the way EPA works is we obviously have our headquarters in Washington, D.C., but we're split up into 10 regions across the U.S. So in Chicago, Region 5, we cover the Great Lakes region, which is 6 states, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. And we're responsible for all of the programming that goes into there, enforcing Clean Water Act, safe drinking water, doing Superfund and emergency management cleanups. Anything that's happening in those states goes through our region. So a lot of people know 2 years ago we had the East Palestine, or 3 years ago?
I think it was
however many years ago it was. Yeah, 3 years ago now. Man, time flies.
I know.
We had the East Palestine disaster in Ohio, and our region was responsible for responding to that. We had the first person on the ground there from any agency within an hour. All of our support that went to that region came from our office, and we've been there the entire time. So when things are going on related to the environment, it's usually the regions that are responding. And it's not just the people who are responsible for emergency management. We also have what's called the Response Support Corps, which brings in people from all over the entire agency to use their specialties to help and assist with cleanup, with planning, with whatever needs to be done. So a lot of people taking on a lot of jobs to help the public and help the environment.
It's a big job, and the work that you, as part of that agency, are responsible for and that do is greatly appreciated. I didn't know there were 10 regions, and I'm sure, to your point, a lot of people don't know that and how they're broken up. You being in Region 5 and being a leader here, it's kind of a two-part question. Which of the states that are part of your region have the best rating within and the least, best, I guess, if you were to rank them in overall, EPA items, whether it be air quality, water quality, and all the rest in terms of how you guys measure?
It really does depend. I mean, there's different ways to look at it, and that's what's so important about some of the work that we do. Is it's not just a straightforward top 10 list. There's different factors that we bring in that help us evaluate how we're going to help these communities. And that's one of the things I really wanted to talk about today, that has been so frustrating for me, my colleagues, and the agency as a whole, is the public, or I should say maybe this administration, doesn't seem to understand that the words that we use are important in categorizing how we do our work. And what I'm talking about here is environmental justice. I've had this talk with a lot of people outside the agency that this word isn't just some, woke nonsense word that was applied because somebody had an agenda. No, it means a very specific thing that determines how we plan for projects in different communities and prioritize different cleanups. So when we're talking about who has the best, air quality or water, there's different layers that go into it, like what does the population look like? What's the age? What is the risk factors associated with the geography, the topography, the hydrogeology of the soil and everything underneath? because you can't just say, oh, well, there's this amount of contamination here, so we have to prioritize this. No, it's a whole ecosystem. It's a whole socioeconomic system that determines how we're going to prioritize what we do our cleanups with. Mm-hmm. And that's what environmental justice is. It's how do we take all these factors in? How do we consider all of them? And then based on that, move forward with prioritizing the health and safety of the community. It's not as straightforward as just a ranking. It's looking at all the different factors from, what the place looks like, what the people there look like, and how we're going to best serve that as a whole, not just, because it has this one toxic waste site there.
Yeah. So thank you for breaking that down, by the way, Colin. Last week we had Cook County County Commissioner President Ms. Toni Preckwinkle on our show. And one of the things that she talked about that was important to her, obviously walking our wonderful forest preserves, and talking about that, she also talked about the importance of leaning into one of her bullet points is environmental justice. So when you spoke to that, it reminded me of her and her concerns about that, and how we've got to do a better job as a society of having environmental justice. But if you can, Colin, and I know you can, so can you tell us what that means to you and how you want to see the agency be better at implementing, quote, environmental justice?
Yeah, it's, it's a very important way to view how we help communities and how we prioritize the health and safety of those communities, because it takes into account not only the different pollution factors, but the historical factors that go into that have made communities more susceptible to being unsafe because of industry, because of the way the communities were set up relative to the way pollution was flowing. So if they were downriver from a power plant, and this was the only place that they could build housing, so they're directly getting all of the pollution in their water straight towards their community, we want to prioritize rebuilding those communities. And what a lot of people don't understand about environmental justice is it's not a purely qualitative exercise. We don't look and just say like, oh, this community kind of looks like one that needs help, so we're going to prioritize them over someone else. No, there's quantitative data and, historical context that goes into it to how we prioritize this. There's certain factors that we look at when choosing how to award these grants or plan these projects, and it is an objective measurement because we can look at the data and say, yeah, this community has been screwed for the last 50 years because we've been dumping things into their water, and we can see the effects of it. So that's why I really get frustrated when certain folks demonize the term environmental justice is because there's not opinion behind it. There's facts and there's data that show that these communities have been screwed over time by polluters, by municipalities sometimes, and we need to help them. And I'm frustrated. I don't know if you saw the news, but yesterday 168 environmental justice workers at EPA were put on administrative leave.
Yeah, I did.
And
one of your, let me ask you a question regarding that, or reference something. Not to cut you off. I want to kind of ride along with you in the car on this one. One of your colleagues in the business of environmental justice, Nicole, is it Cantello? Is she the one that's with the American Federation of Government Employees? She basically she's urging don't do your best to resist the efforts of the Trump administration. And I'm not even going to call it administration, the Trump cabal. It's because it just is. But give us some feedback about what she said, what she had to say.
Yeah, Nicole's great. She's our union president. Love her and all the work that she's doing, getting the word out there to make sure people know what's going on. But she's absolutely right. The work that needs to be done, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I've seen in the past 3 weeks with my colleagues is, although it's been hard, it's been exhausting, people are scared, a lot of people are more motivated than ever. The big thing that I think a lot of people don't understand is, we don't work at the EPA because we want power or, some kind of control to tell you what to do. Everybody that I know that works at the EPA, took less money to be here. We have PhD scientists, people who are highly skilled and specialized. They made sacrifices to, go through a long job process, go through background checks, do all of these things because they believe in one thing. They believe in public service. They believe in trying to make our environment better, make our communities more healthy. And so when there's pushback on that, when there are efforts to slow that down, whether intentional or unintentional, but when someone tries to come in and say, like, your job doesn't matter, or your job can be done better in the private sector, we know that we want to do public service. So there is more motivation than ever to help the public, to help provide healthy communities. Even though people are a little scared right now, that's the pushback that we're engaging in, is we're going to do our job the best we can until we're dragged out the door.
Listen, man, two things. First of all, I'm with you in terms of that, and I like the stoutness of your statement about until we're dragged out the door. To go back to a phrase that you use, and I know you weren't using it in a derogatory way, but this is not, our environment, our climate is not woke nonsense. Studying it and how it operates and protecting it is probably one of our primary responsibilities. It's part of self-care. So, when you talk to people in the future, whether it be on a radio show or on a podcast or in a group of folks, let them know saying woke nonsense, this is not woke nonsense, is a positive thing. This is being woke about this topic is an opportunity to make sure that the one thing that we do share in common, I mean, there's many things that we do, but the thing that we all have to recognize is there's nothing woke or nonsensical about taking care of our planet.
Yeah, to be clear, that was in quotes. But no, it's hard when people view things through the lens of whatever their political priorities are, or whatever their, agenda-driven scope is, right? The things that we do at EPA are purely objective in science. So when someone comes in and says, oh, this term you're using is too political, so we're going to make an executive order to get rid of it, we look at that and we're confused, because the work we're doing on a day-to-day basis is driven by, scientific method. It's driven by research. It's driven by years of project planning. And most of all, it's driven by the communities that we serve. Nobody goes in and at the end of the day says, oh man, I'm really glad I helped X community and not, this community that voted for Trump. I'm glad I only helped my team. No, we don't care about that. We care about helping all communities in our region. Yeah. We go wherever the problem is, and we don't pick and choose. And that's when I get frustrated, is when the optics make it look like we are, trying to help one person over another. No, we're just trying to help who needs help.
Yeah.
That's what's happening at the end of the day.
The picking and choosing is only, we have to pick where we got to go, but not because of where the data tells us we have to go, not where we're driven because of our political beliefs, et cetera, et cetera. That's not helping the country. So, Colin, let me ask you this question as we wrap up. And first of all, let me say this first, man. I appreciate you being with us, and I know that you're doing this in a very respectful and confidential way. So I applaud you in that space. First and foremost, let me say that, and we'll be honored to have you back. But I got to ask you a personal question. Why'd you become a chemist, man? I mean, what were you, like a little smart dude that just said, "Hey, man, I know this stuff over here"? What took you down that path of becoming a chemist?
I actually wasn't a little smart dude. At least going into high school, I never viewed myself as liking science or math or any of that. But I had a really great teacher, and I fell in love with science. I fell in love with structure and just the way it was set up, and I also just really care about the environment, and those two things came together. And I knew, graduating from college, that working for EPA was something that was going to be a lifelong goal. It took a long time. I applied to EPA for years, 6-7 years, and was trying my hardest to get in. Finally broke through, and that's what is in it for me right now. Is this is the culmination of work that I've been trying to do since I was 14 years old. I love chemistry. I love figuring out the way things work and being able to apply it in a way that is helpful, that makes an impact. It makes me feel good waking up every day. And I know that the same is true for every coworker that I have, and everybody in our agency. We're here because we love the work. And yeah, like I said, I had really great teachers. They led me on this path. I was a teacher myself for a little bit. Just everything has brought me here. So I'm just really happy that I get to still do this, and hopefully still get to do this in the near future.
Well, we're happy too, and we're also blessed and fortunate to have someone that has the stick-to-itiveness that you have, and that you showed, and staying with it until you get to the EPA, and now you're using that same energy and skill set to kind of protect this, my man. So, Colin, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Love to have you back in the future. And give me a call if they start to try to drag you out. Just give me a call. I'll do my best to show up, because, like you, I'm a fighter, and we want to keep this thing moving forward and keep us protected. So thank you, Colin, for being with us this morning, and stay safe, brother. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. Solidarity forever.
That's right. Stay safe. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break and keep the train moving. Great to have Colin with us this morning from the EPA and talking about things that affect us all when it comes to our planet. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, at some point, we were going to have our Mayor Brandon Johnson from here in Chicago with us this morning. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we will be right back.
Hey there, it's Carrie Joy. University of Chicago professor Harold Pollack said that the best financial advice for most people would fit on an index card. I'm going to fit his index card into your Work Money Minute. Here we go. Max out your 401k or other employee contribution. Buy inexpensive, well-diversified mutual funds. Never buy or sell an individual security. The person on the other side of the table knows more than you do. Save 20% of your income. Pay your credit card balance in full every month. Maximize tax-advantaged savings vehicles like Roth, SEP, and 529 accounts. Pay attention to fees. Avoid actively managed funds. Make financial advisors commit to the fiduciary standard. And lastly, promote social insurance programs to help folks when things go wrong. That's it. For more tips, check out workmoney.org. Till next time, this is Carrie Joy saying, take good care.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. Call now. 800-575-8924. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Partial sunshine develops here for today with a high in the low 30s. Winds out of the northwest around 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy and a low near 25. By Saturday, a chance for snow and freezing rain mixing, cloudy high 33 degrees. Then on Sunday, partial sunshine, we'll see high around 30. Monday, sunny skies, high 34 degrees. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 21.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Hey guys, this is Richard Chu. Welcome back to Chu's Views. This is the first Friday of the month, and that means it's time for This Month with the Mayor. Hey, Mayor Johnson, welcome to Chu's Views. Did we lose him? No, he's there. He's got to be there. He probably put us on pause. Stay with us, guys. He's there. That's the reality of us, as I've said before, of live radio. Okay. All right. It's reconnecting. So Mayor Johnson will be with us in a moment. Great to have Colin on right before the break to talk about the thing that we all have in common. It's our planet. I've said it a bunch of times, and most definitely having someone like that to speak to why it's important to have our EPA. Is we good? Mayor Johnson, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Wanted to have you a little fancy intro, and we kind of missed you there, but welcome to the show. How are you doing this morning?
You know, I'm doing wonderful. Whatever that little bug is that's bouncing around the city of Chicago, somehow I've been able to escape it, but we got my wife and all three of my children. Unfortunately, my 12-year-old Ethan got the worst of it, but I'm feeling great.
All right. Well, they've got to keep you away from getting it, so good on them. Welcome to the show, and listen, I come right out of the gate and say to you, Monday night I had the opportunity to be there in the audience, and you were busy at the end talking with folks, but I had a chance to be in the audience at the WTTW My Block event with Jamal Cole, and I just want to come right out and say a couple things that I've been saying on the air throughout the course of the week. You guys, the whole panel did a great job in fielding the questions and letting everybody know that all of you all who were on the panel were serious about the city of Chicago and our communities moving forward. And I've been leaning into that all week in terms of community, in terms of the importance of it, and in terms of not being splintered off by what's going on a federal level, and that's trying to trickle down to some very specific parts of the city of the country. The city of Chicago is one of the cities that's in the crosshairs. So thank you for showing that leadership Monday, and all the craziness that's coming at you, and all the things that you got to navigate, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Frankly, I thought you guys did a great job, and particularly you were showing the leadership that the city needs to see from you right now. So kudos to you in that space. What what was your impression of the panel and the group of people that were there?
Well, thank you for the recognition of the strength of our city and how in this moment we are not going to surrender our humanity. And that's really what I believe the extremism in this country would like for us to do, to see everyone else as a threat or as an object, and therefore providing permission for the type of unfair treatment that unfortunately this country and the world has participated in. The panel was absolutely exceptional. I'm grateful to Jamal Cole and My Block, My Hood, My City, and their partnership with WTTW to bring me in, to give the community an opportunity to ask direct questions to me and to anyone else who will listen around the things that are most pressing for them. I thought it was an incredible display of the consciousness of Chicago, and it was a more accurate depiction of how the residents of the city are seeing this moment. And again, each and every one of the panelists brought a level of expertise that reflects what I always call the soul of Chicago, our diversity of thought, the diversity of experiences, the different, again, demographics as well as age, representation. All of that was on display at that public forum. And then the public audience being able to see, experience it, and touch it for themselves. That is the type of interactions that I believe we need to have versus some of these smaller news bites that really don't get at the essence of what we are facing in this moment, and quite frankly, what people actually care about.
Yeah, that the sound bites and the clips and the headlines really don't get. I was having dinner with a friend the other night that said the clickbait is causing so many distracting moments for people. They don't get deeper into what's really the substance, and you guys did a really, really good job of that. Mayor Johnson, talk a little bit, and you mentioned this, as did Jamal and others on the panel the other night, why it's so important right now that communities stay connected and why they have to be not just working together, but making sure that they're reaching out to others. Talk about why community is so important to you as mayor of the city of Chicago, but also to our greater conversations when it comes to some of our national issues.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. Look, our interdependence on one another is far stronger than we realize. And, making sure that community remains connected, it's critical to, building a much more inclusive economy. So, for instance, right now we are moving already, believe it or not, into our discussions around the budget for 2026. And, we came off of an open, very democratic process that led to the budget that we are living in right now. But there are clearly desires and demands that the people of Chicago have. And, to be quite blunt, there aren't enough resources to really provide the type of economic stability that's needed in every community. And the reason why that's critical, and to your question around community, is that when communities suffer or where particular groups suffer, it will have an impact on the rest of us. One of the best examples that I can give is that, when I was playing a little Division III college football, I remember jamming up my shoulder. And at 18, 19, Chew, I don't, it didn't hurt. I'll say it like that. Though there was some gnawing, in my shoulder. At 48, it bothers me. and let me just tell you, I don't know if you've ever experienced this or anyone else my age, that if there's a particular area on your body that is ailing, it will have impact on the rest of your body.
Yep.
And again, 30 years ago, it was a shoulder, kind of bothered me here or there. Now there's an entire adjustment that I have to make as a result of not getting the treatment that I should have received 20, 30 years ago. And so this is a similar element when it comes to community, that one part of a body that is not whole will have consequence on the rest of us. And so when you have unemployment, for instance, for young Black men, that looks like the Great Depression era numbers for white men. at which our country called it a national crisis, by the way, when unemployment had reached 30% amongst white men. And you have that type of concentrated unemployment within one particular group, it will have an impact on our society. And so that's why youth employment, our investment in education, bringing new development into the city of Chicago, these are ways in which we can, approach these ailments that exist within the city of Chicago so that there isn't a heavier load being carried one way or the other simply because we refuse to address a critical issue. I hope that makes some sense.
It makes total sense. And again, I say this often, Mayor Johnson. I have to stop taking notes and listen to what you're saying and what others are saying when we have them as guests. So I want to connect something to what you just said to our future. The word I wrote down was compensation. And our bodies I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of injuries. If you don't get one fixed, then it's going to eventually, your body's going to compensate and something else is going to go awry. And I link that to this phrase of a rising tide lifts all ships. The counter to that is, if you don't lift everybody up, somebody else is going to suffer. But a lot of people think that when you lift up a particular community or group of folk, that it's taking from another group. And I've never, as an economist and ones that studied, financial matters, I've never seen that be the truth. It's always the opposite. When you lift up the areas that need to be lifted up, and it's common sense. If you drive a car down the street, it's got 4 tires. If one of them's flat, eventually you're going to wreck something. So let's put some air in all the tires so we can run down the road smoothly. And a lot of folks don't get that.
Yes, that's it. It's unfortunate that sort of paradigm or mindset matriculates and unfortunately metastasizes our body and our city. What I will say, though, is that, there are examples where people actually recognize, this value. I'll give you an example. Youth employment, for instance, we're positioned to hire up to 29,000 young people this summer. It's a 43% increase since I've been in office. Last year, we hired almost 28,000. 10 of the top neighborhoods where young people were hired from were on the west and south sides. The one that I like to highlight the most is the Austin neighborhood, not just because that's where I reside, it's where my family, we're raising our family here. It's because when you look at the reduction of violence in Austin and this police district, there has been, a recognizable decline in violence. I actually believe that there is a connection between the fact that almost 1,700 young people had summer jobs. And when we recognize that part of our approach, that again, making investments in communities that have historically been ignored, that pressure, that weight does not pull us or drag us, into this, economy of despair. And it's why I've been focused on, development and projects. Just last year, 2024, $13 billion of just new projects that are on the line, 45,000 construction jobs. When all these projects are done, it's 3,700 or so permanent jobs. The more we recognize the equitable distribution of wealth and the balance that creates for our society and our long-term sustainability, people begin to have lived experiences, where they don't believe that someone else benefiting from these investments is somehow a repudiation or a slight against them. I think the last thing that I'll say here, because you raise an important point, that there really is this insurgent, if you will, of divisiveness that we have to plow through as a city of descendants of slaves and immigrants and indigenous people. Chicago, we have to be the shining light or the beacon, the shining example of what it means to have a diverse economy where a Black Haitian immigrant and a Potawatomi woman and Jewish, Italian, Polish, Chinese immigrants, descendants of slaves from, migrating from the South. I don't know about you, Chu. My family is a part of the second migration, where many of the first Blacks who migrated landed on the south side, and the second migration of black folks primarily on the west side.
Yep.
This is the unique story of Chicago, where our collective communities have come together to create a real balanced, society. And that's essentially what my budget and the work that we're doing collectively through community is working to capture, where every single neighborhood has everything that it needs and deserves.
One of the things that you said the other night, which leads me to this next question, and I'm part of my family too, same part of that same migration, and I'm proud of it, and more people need to be aware of it and how it's benefited our country. That being said, you've got some headwinds coming your way that you're going to lean into, along with mayors of other cities such as Boston and New York and Denver, in terms of this word sanctuary cities and policies, and how Congress wants to drag you guys into to testify. And so talk a little bit about that if you can. I don't want to have any predisposed thinking on it, but what does this all mean?
Well, first, I will just say that there are other mayors and governors, congressional leaders across this country that recognize that sanctuary status is not, it's not a term that we take lightly. It's something that I know as a mayor of Chicago, and mayors that existed before me reacted and held strong the view and the belief that Mayor Harold Washington had over 40 years ago, that as our country unfortunately began to create, I would just say, unfriendly economic conditions in Central and South America, as the so-called spread of socialism and communism was the term of that time, and unfortunately, the sovereign nations in Central and South America were destabilized because of foreign policy. And Mayor Harold Washington understood that. And that's why he stood up at that time over 40 years ago and said that if our federal government is going to behave in the way it behaves, the cities of America have to unite and come together to stand up and resist those policies, but also provide sanctuary as a consequence of those policies. We should be opening our arms. Now, 40 years later, I don't know if Mayor Harold Washington and leaders of that time fully understood the implications of what they did. I mean, we may not ever know, but I will say that I do very much appreciate and honor that legacy. Now, what it means for today, we've made this point very clear, that if Congress was absolutely serious about the crises at the border, and in addition to the crises at the border, if they were serious about lifting democracy and creating real economic stability across the globe, it would better reflect that in policy. There is a bipartisan bill that passed the Senate that the House rejected at the behest of the current president. That policy alone could resolve many of the things that people have angst about today. As far as what it means in terms of just representation in this moment, Michelle Wu, I do want to lift her up, the mayor of Boston. We claim her. She's one of us. She's born and raised in Illinois. I believe she was raised in Barrington.
Yeah.
Just had a baby. We had a strong relationship with her. Mayor Johnson and Mayor Adams and I, we had to deal with the brunt of those buses coming from Texas, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, and we suffered through the challenges of that. What we're going to uphold as welcoming cities essentially is that we don't interfere with anything that the federal agents do, right? So if there's someone here that's undocumented and they are convicted of a crime, they are subject to deportation. That is the law. Other administrations have done that. I'm sure we could have a longer conversation about the Obama years, but the numbers bear out, right? I mean, it's very clear of the efforts that the Obama administration put forward during his time. And there were people who, took exception to the amount of deportations that happened under his administration, but not to just single him out. Every president has had a strategy to deport individuals, and in particular individuals that have, caused harm in our respective cities. What the full motivation behind this is, quite frankly, I believe, is just is a way to further insert division within communities to get us fighting for the limited resources in which the interests of the ultra wealthy want to make available. And I see this as an opportunity, in closing, that it's not just a conversation around immigration. This is a conversation about working people and dignity in our society. And as much as we know that, laws have to be upheld, I would wish, the oversight committee would spend more time discussing how illegal guns are getting into the streets across America and finding ways in which we can hold those entities accountable. Because I can tell you, there's a lot more tragedy that I can point to in the city of Chicago and cities across America at the hands of illegal guns and illegal weapons. So I'm going to, stand firm and work with these other mayors to continue to uphold the values of working people. That, again, we won't interfere with FBI, with federal agents, but we're certainly not going to deputize law enforcement locally to behave as ICE agents. It's not something that is, quite frankly, even manageable. And we don't see the dignity in forcing local law enforcement to walk around and ask individuals what their immigration status is.
Yeah. So a couple things that you said that just made me smile. The first one was stand with dignity. And that's one of the things that Monday night I noticed. And I spoke to a few folks after the event. And one of the things that I saw in you, which I'm proud of, and I will say this as sort of your big brother in this moment, I'm proud of how you've been standing up and reinserted the spine of our ancestors in your body, that even with the imperfections of your administration, which is part of the deal, and the imperfections of doing what you have to do that you signed up for, you have been showing that steel in your spine. And I want to applaud you for that, because I know that folks are coming at you left, right, top, and bottom, and continue to do that, because that's what leadership is. And that's what people want to see from you, from the other Mayor Johnson in Baltimore, from our mayors in all of our blue cities, and our governors throughout the country. They want that, Mayor Johnson. I'm telling you, imperfections are there. That's a reality of living. You know that. You're raising a family. But the country wants to see us fight back. They want to see folks like you put that steel in their spine and let folks know we are going to lead from the front, and we're going to stay connected. So I have to give you your flowers in that space. Be darned whatever else is coming at you right now, and how those things are landing on your desk. Talk a little bit about, as we wrap up today, talk a little bit about how you are working with some of the other mayors. And I know that's a big question, and we'll get back to that in a future show, but how you're working with some of the other mayors to share the resource of ideas and solutions.
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, there are mayors across the globe, quite frankly, that I've been in communications with. Just a couple of days ago, I spoke with Mayor Valerie Plante in Toronto, the first woman ever elected mayor in Montreal, Quebec, the first woman, 365-year history, something like that. And she has done an exceptional job in Montreal. Spoke with Mayor Chow in Toronto. These are, leaders that I'm in communication with because of our shared interests around just our global economy. The 20% of the world's fresh water is right in our front yard between Lake Michigan and the St. Lawrence River. Again, in working with mayors across this country, Mayor Johnston is just one example. Mayor Baz, Brandon Scott, Paul Young. I mean, I can just go down the list of mayors who are all working towards solving the local challenges, whether it's building more affordable housing. So, for instance, we have a brand new model that we're using based upon what has been done in Maryland, green social housing, and essentially this is a way in which we can establish essentially a nonprofit public developer that will be governed by a board that is accountable to the government to build more affordable rental units. right? I mean, these are, things that are being done in Atlanta as well. And Paul Young in Memphis is working on similar models. And so I just want to lift up the fact that, whether it's immigration or housing, that I'm in constant communication with mayors. There's Brandon Scott in Baltimore, for instance. He's in his second term now, but he has a very similar disposition as I do, investing in young people. And so his youth summer employment jobs have increased significantly, and homicides have gone down in his city. On this issue, I will say this: when the buses were coming, and no one had an answer for the buses. No one, literally no one. The federal government, no one. I'm in a cabinet meeting, Drew, and I'm just talking out loud. I'm just saying, look, there's got to be a way in which we can better regulate these buses that are coming through. There's just, the Greyhound bus cannot just show up in Chicago whenever it wants from St. Louis. And so, absolutely, the law department sends a note up and says, the mayor, you're absolutely right. That's how we came up with the bus ordinance. Mm-hmm. That bus ordinance that ultimately regulated when buses can arrive to try to establish some order. Municipalities around the state took on that same bus ordinance. Denver put one together similarly, in New York and other places. And so it was an idea that came out of a cabinet meeting here in Chicago that the White House even recognized, like, man, we appreciate that you at least came up with something. And as a result of that, that's when, I don't know if people remember how dangerous this was. The governor of Texas sent an entire airplane, multiple airplanes around the country with asylum seekers on these airplanes. And what ended up happening as well, no one knew that you can fly a private charter plane into a city without disclosing who or what's on that plane.
Yep.
I mean, this is a matter of national security here, right? International security. And this is how mad this individual was. He spent roughly almost $225 million just to send, asylum seekers and undocumented individuals around the country to prove a point that he didn't have to. And so it's through these shared experiences where, we developed ways in which we could build out shelters. In fact, there are cities throughout Canada who were dealing with similar crises, used our model in terms of temporary shelter to respond to the crisis as well. And I will say this last thing, something that came out of the new arrivals mission. We built a one system initiative to respond to homelessness in this city. And for years, Chu, I'm sure you're aware of this, people call 311 because they are unhoused. Right now, there's not a single person in our city that is called 311 that doesn't have shelter right now.
Yeah.
And so, we have built, beds, and we have worked with the state to come up with this single one system initiative. The last thing that I'll say, out of these conversations and out of these crises, we have found hope. And that's what I'm living in right now, is that what people mean for evil, we can find good out of it. And again, ensure that the dignity of humanity doesn't get lost, even during very difficult times like these.
Absolutely. Mayor Johnson, appreciate you being with us this morning. Great event on Monday, and I know that you got to run, but it's always great to talk with you, and I'm glad that you're taking on the leadership that you have to take on, connecting with other mayors and governors and other elected officials throughout the country to make things as best as we can during this crazy time. We're here for you. We're here to support and encourage you and constructively criticize you as needed. But stay in the fight. We know that we got you, and we look forward to talking to you again next month to see what's been happening in your world over the next 30 days. So thanks for being with us, Mayor Johnson.
You are certainly welcome. Chicago, we will continue to lead the way, to be an example for the rest of the world. And I'm grateful to have an audience in a space like this to be able to communicate and to your point, challenge to ultimately make us stronger. So thank you again for the space, and look forward to talking to you in a month.
That's right. All right. Be safe, Mayor. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. All right, guys. Listen, it's a privilege to interview and talk with our mayor. Lots to learn there. And I'm proud of what he's doing. As I say all the time, the imperfections that come along with what any elected official have are there. And Mayor Johnson is working hard to show the leadership that he needs to show to navigate through the things. We'll get into some more items over the next few weeks, and we'll be prepared to talk to him about as he gets ready for this congressional hearing. But for now, good to have the mayor with us, and we'll do our best to keep that train rolling. Henry, can you believe it is the end of another week? It's the end of another show. But I have to say to you guys, thanks for being with us, and thank you for helping kick off year 2 of Choose Views here on WCPT. I'm glad to be with you guys. Weekends upon us. Enjoy yourselves. And as always, take a deep breath and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
Still struggling with gas, bloat, constipation, nausea, or diarrhea? Have you tried eliminating foods but felt no change? It's time to call the tummy whisperer, Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions. Renee uses targeted testing to reveal exactly what's happening in your gut. Gut bacteria plays a key role in all your body functions, from cardiovascular regulation to brain function. When the gut is imbalanced, you may experience symptoms that extend beyond the gut, such as anxiety, skin issues, poor sleep, or increased risk for disease. Digestive Health Solution uses advanced testing to identify harmful microbes and evaluate the overall balance of the gut ecosystem. Get insights into your health, digestion, and how your microbiome affects all aspects of your body. Stop suffering. Call Renee now at 847-207-2034 or visit the